Hey, what's up YouTube? I'm back with another video, and in today's video is a little bit of a different video because today I'm not in my garage making a video about my car. If you haven't read the title by now, you probably know that this video is about the new BMW M5 G90. So in this video, we're pretty much going to be talking about, does the new BMW M5 G90 deserve its hate? Now, one thing that I have noticed is that in the past couple of years, new cars have started to get more and more hate. Anytime a new generation of car comes out, it tends to get a lot of hate. And a great example of that is, of course, the BMW M5 G90. Now, why does it get hate? There are two factors involved in this. First of all is the looks. The second of all is the obvious one, the weight. So let's talk about looks. Now, looks are subjective to people's opinion, but however, I believe that the new M5 does not look as bad as how people are saying. I believe that this car looks absolutely amazing. This looks way more aggressive than the F90 M5. Now, I can understand why people say that this doesn't look as good because this has a more sharper front end than the F90. And plus, when this was first revealed, this was more so revealed in colors that didn't make it look good. Now, however, I personally believe that this looks the best in Frozen Black, which is BMW's individual color, basically matte black, or Isle of Man Green, which is another BMW individual color. Isle of Man Green has probably got to be the best individual color that you can spec onto your BMW M cars. And when you look at it from the side and the back as well, it doesn't look as bad from either side as well. From the back, it also looks pretty good. The only thing that I just don't like is the split design diffuser and the vented reflectors. But however, it's still better than having fake vents on the bumper. So the M5 really doesn't look as bad as how people say it is. Because I'm gonna be honest, when the G80s first came out, they also got the exact same type of hate that the new M5 got. But they eventually grew on people to the point where now it's so loved that everyone has it. To the point where it has now become an overrated car. I swear on my TikTok For You page or on Instagram Reels, I only see G80s. But however, a car also becomes more overrated when it's actually good. Now, I do understand that in recent times that BMW did fall off, that if you look at some of their newer cars, their designs are absolutely horrible, such as the new X3 or the iX. There's a lot of BMWs out there that are pretty ugly. But however, I believe that the M cars did not fall off as hard compared to some BMWs. Like the new 4 Series, I did not personally like it until that they recently gave it a facelift. The only M car that I believe that right now is ugly is the G87 M2. But however, I might be biased because the F87 M2 was my all-time favorite M2. And when the G90 was first revealed, at first I didn't also like it either because the F90 is still one of my dream cars. But however, eventually started to grow on me to the point where now I absolutely love it. And I also know that there's a lot of people out on the internet that also say that they like the new M5. But the second reason why it's also very hated is because of its weight. Now, if you don't know this, that the new BMW M5 is 1,100 pounds heavier than its previous generation. Yes, the G90 M5 is 1,100 pounds heavier than the F90, meaning it has a total gross weight of 5,390 pounds. That's 2,445 kilograms. For reference, the new BMW M5 weighs more than many family SUVs and pickup trucks out there on the market. It weighs close to a Rolls-Royce Ghost, which is the most comfortable sedan on this planet. It weighs more than a Range Rover Vogue, which is a $280,000 SUV. And it weighs more than a Cadillac Escalade V. And when you think about it, that is a lot of weight for a sports sedan. Now, why does the new BMW M5 weigh more? All because it uses a plug-in hybrid powertrain with a 4.4-liter twin-turbo V8, which combined push out 717 horsepower. If you know anything about plug-in hybrid, since this is an 18.6 kilowatt-hour battery, it adds a lot of weight. Because BMW did not just add a hybrid system for performance, they also made it to be a usable, drivable hybrid, meaning this thing could drive around 70 kilometers on pure electricity. And since this is a plug-in hybrid, meaning it has a big battery that adds a lot of weight. As you can see, it's taking up most of the trunk space. It has less trunk space than a regular 5 Series sedan. Second reason why this is also very heavy is because it's not because of the 4.4-liter twin-turbo V8 or it's because it's a plug-in hybrid. It's because this is a longer and wider sedan, meaning you get way more space than you did in the previous generation M5 or the 5 Series. As you can see, you get way more space in the back seat than what you did in the previous generation M5 or the 5 Series. Because this 5 Series is bigger, longer, and wider than the previous generation 5 Series. Now, yes, the BMW M5 is a pretty heavy car, but however, for the first time ever, we're getting a touring version of the M5 for the North American market. Now, yes, there were M5 Tourings before, but however, this is the first time we're ever getting one in North America. Now, just like the sedan, the BMW M5 Touring is also a pretty heavy car. This weighs 5,500 pounds, which is 2,500 kilograms, or 2.5 tons. The Touring also doesn't look as bad either. This one is an Isle of Man green, which is my personal favorite individual car that you can get on BMWs. It's also way more practical than the sedan. As you can see, you get way more trunk space than you do in the sedan, which makes it a perfect family car and a perfect daily driver. And when you fold down the seats, you get even more trunk space. Now yes, being heavy is the reason why it gets a shit ton of hate. I've even seen memes on the internet about how people make jokes that there's no other vehicle heavier on the road than the new BMW M5. And since this thing is heavier than the previous generation M5, meaning on paper it's slower than the previous generation M5. Because according to BMW, the G90 does 0 to 100 kilometers an hour in 3.5 seconds when the F90 did it in 3.3 or 3.4 seconds. But however, I say one thing, that you're not a real BMW enthusiast if you don't know that BMW lies about their performance numbers on paper. Because yes, it may say on paper that it makes 717 horsepower and does 0 to 100 kilometers an hour in 3.4 seconds, but it's actually faster than that. It actually does 0 to 100 kilometers an hour in 2.9 seconds instead of 3.4 seconds. And same principle applies to the F90 as well. The F90 did it in 2.8 seconds instead of 3.3 seconds. Because the F90 measured to make 650 horsepower to the crank, whether BMW was saying that it was making 617 horsepower to the crank. And I'm pretty sure the G90 also pushes somewhere close to 760 horsepower to the crank, or maybe even more. But however, if we're really talking about power to weight ratio, sure, it makes like 717 horsepower to the crank on paper, and it may weigh like 5,390 pounds. But you need to understand that BMW has a lot of aftermarket support. We all know BMWs, all they need is a downpipe and a tune to make more power, meaning this thing could easily push 800 to 900 horsepower to the wheels with just a simple downpipe and a tune. Now yes, I understand that this uses the technology from the XM label red, meaning the engine pushes out 577 horsepower and the electric motor pushes out 188 horsepower. However, with that downpipe and tune, you can easily make the engine push horsepower numbers in the 700s, like 700 horsepower to the wheel, and combining that with the electric motors, this thing could easily push 800 horsepower to the wheels, meaning it would compensate for all that extra weight. And it would also give it a faster 0 to 100 kilometers an hour time. My prediction is probably 2.5 seconds. But we'll have to see when people start getting their hands on these and when they start modifying them. And while we're on the subject of aftermarket support, this car just came out. It came out of July of this year, and it already has aftermarket parts for it. So if you don't like the way how certain things look on it from the factory, you can easily mod it out and change them. And this is also why I believe BMW is the best German enthusiast brand out there, because it has a lot of aftermarket support and it's really easy to make power from its cars. Now, certain people are saying that we didn't ask them to put a plug-in hybrid powertrain in the M5. It would have been better if they just put a regular hybrid powertrain in the M5. Because let's be honest, who wants a hybrid M5, right? Well, you're kind of wrong about it. Now, sure, the BMW M5 attracts car enthusiasts, but however, the demographic buyer for the M5 are typically engineers, lawyers, or doctors, who of course daily drive the car to their job. But however, on weekends, they take it to the racetrack. And for those type of people, it's a really good choice, meaning you don't have to turn on the engine when you're driving it to work, and then for the weekend track days, you can turn on the engine and access the full 700 plus horsepower and race it on the track. Because depending on how much the M5 costs, people like us really cannot afford it. We only can afford it when it depreciates, and that's the best thing about German cars, is that the first owners are always doctors, engineers, lawyers, or some corporate people, and then once their cars depreciate, the second or third owners are typically teenagers or people like who are in their mid-20s, and they get their hands on these and they start modding them out. Which is why I think that the new M5 is a really good daily driver. You have the V8 engine along with the 700 plus horsepower if you want to take it to the track and have fun, while still having it a usable hybrid that you can drive around in pure electricity for 70 kilometers on your daily commute. Now, the last thing that I'm going to talk about is that why did BMW make the new M5 a plug-in hybrid powertrain? Well, you see, every time a car company wants to come out with a new generation of car, they have to do testing, especially for two main key things. Number one is safety, and the second thing is emissions regulations. Now, every year in this world, emissions regulations are getting stricter and stricter and tighter. And same with safety regulations. Now, BMW sells all their cars in all markets, and their main primary goal is to definitely meet the emissions regulations that are changing in Europe. because that's their demographic market. Now sure, North America may not have as strict emissions regulations like Europe, because a lot of people are also saying is that why did Mercedes put a 4-cylinder in the C63 when GM is putting a 5.5 liter flat plane crank V8 in the ZR1 Corvette, which pushes over 1,000 horsepower? And the simple answer to that is that emissions regulations in Europe are trash. There are way more stricter emissions regulations in Europe than in North America when it comes to gasoline vehicles. With diesel vehicles, that's a whole different topic that we can get onto. So my point here is that this thing went through a lot of testing before it came out into production. If you want me to tell you the truth is that BMW M were first thinking of not even making a V8 M5. They were first thinking of going fully electric for the M5, but they knew that us car enthusiasts or M enthusiasts would not like that. We would never call an electric M5 a real M5. So that's why they had to go with a plug-in hybrid V8 powertrain. Meaning we should be thankful that BMW did not downsize the engine of the M5 or make it fully electric. Because if you look at it, what Mercedes did with the new C63, they basically took out the V8 and put a 4-cylinder paired up with a hybrid system. And I honestly believe that they made the wrong decision. They should have put a V8 hybrid into the new C63. Yeah, sure, it would have been more heavier, but as if the car really is that light. Come on, it weighs 4,600 pounds. So that's why I'm still glad that the BMW M5 still retains the 4.4 liter twin turbo V8. Alright, anyways, that's all it for today's video. Like and subscribe for more car content, and I'll see you all in the next video.